talk to me about the tactical side. As we, our listeners are going, okay, Ramsey transition may be different than how I might transition in my company, but we've got a few things happening here. We have Tardy transitioning out. So how do we do that well and offload responsibilities, and how do we transition a new leader in and make sure that we don't drop any balls? How does that work?
Yeah, so I mean, first of all, looking at the way Tardy handled this situation was perfect. The communication up front often couldn't have gone better. I mean, he was really pouring his heart out, and we were grabbing lunch consistently throughout that sabbatical, and he was with several other board members as well. And so that made this whole thing, it wasn't a surprise by the end of it. It was a slow cooking thing that we all, eventually when the decision was made, it was obvious. And we were happy for him as our friend because we knew that this season was up. So in regards to me transitioning in, I've transitioned teams a couple times over the years, and I've done it really poorly. So I knew what not to do this time. And of course I didn't do it perfectly, but I tried the best I could. And in the past, what I'd done is I came in, and as a new leader coming into a new area, you have considerable amount of vision. You see things from an outside perspective, so you see the problems. You see the opportunities. You see what needs to change. And in the past, I'd come in guns a-blazing, just telling everyone what was stupid and what was wrong and what we needed to change. And I didn't take the time to really understand the history, understand how we got to the decisions that were made. And so in this round, honestly, I took about 6 weeks where I didn't make any decisions. I came in, I had a lot of meetings with people. I got to know people. We have a cafe here at our building, and I honestly sat there for most of every day. I had 45-minute meetings with a bunch of team members all throughout EntreLeadership, whether they were a coach on our team, a salesperson, all the way up to our leaders. And I just asked them questions. I got to know them as a person first, and then I started asking them questions like, hey, what are you excited about? What do you enjoy? What do you think is awesome about EntreLeadership? And then I asked them like, hey, shoot me straight here. I'm the new guy. What might need to change? What are some things that frustrate you? What are things that I should be aware of as the new guy? And building that trust and spending that time with the team, the things I learned were so incredibly helpful. It gave me the full spectrum. It gave me the full story, and it gave me a lot of grace too for knowing where we were and why we were where we were.
That's huge. So I'm hearing two things here. Tardy transitioning out, a lot of open, honest communication up front, early on, ongoing, all of those things. And then you gave us some kind of lessons that you've done poorly, but this time around, when I've seen you in the cafe meet with all these people, you're really just letting the team know that you care and that you're building those relationships, which builds trust. And we talk about how we move at the speed of trust, which is going to make you a better leader, make the team trust you, and have the whole thing run more smoothly. Any tips from you, Tardy, on transitioning out or in?
Well, I'll just say, and you've heard me and Sarah Sloy, and we did a whole conversation on this podcast about transitioning. And if I did anything well, I think it's just that I took my own medicine, and that is that when the restless feeling was a 2 out of 10, I started communicating about it. And I want to speak to, there's a couple of people in our audience. One is that business owner who can really control the culture top down. And if that's you, I would just challenge you to make sure that it's a safe environment for people to say, hey, I'm not doing okay. And that doesn't automatically mean they're out of here. Because if you don't do that, people are going to feel the pressure to have everything buttoned up. They're going to make a decision. They're going to be faking it for 4 to 6 months until they have their parachute ready. And then you're going to be surprised and it's not going to end well. Oftentimes what we've seen when someone in our environment, where it is safe to say that, if they have the maturity to raise their hand and say, I'm not doing okay, I would say 4 times out of 5, we fold them into something that is them going forward with us. We tweak their KRA a little bit. We have enough room to kind of work on things. We hear them out. Sometimes we can fix some things with their compensation. So, being able to have that open communication is a big piece of this. And so Ramsey has that environment. And so I knew it was safe, and I knew my friendship with Dave, and I wasn't going to be like, ostracized all of a sudden if I just said, guys, I don't feel like I'm winning right now as a leader. To that person who is maybe thinking about they're not doing okay, one, make sure that it's a safe environment. I mean, I don't know your culture, and there are some places where you can't do that. So I'm not saying just be sloppy with this. But also I would say if it is a safe place to do that in your workplace, don't make a decision and then just use this as a way to kind of go through a process to help manufacture a narrative. Like, I really didn't know. I just knew I wasn't okay. I wanted the clarity of a decision. I wanted all the stuff to be buttoned up. And it was the weirdest thing to kind of just step out on faith and go, guys, I don't know where this is going, because I really didn't. I didn't have something lined up on the side. We still don't even have the next thing figured out. I mean, as I've been here, I've been all in here. I haven't been lining up, the next plans or whatever. And that's a weird feeling. It takes a lot of trust and it takes faith. But I would just say when it's a 2 out of 10, that's when you start going, hey, I'm not sure what the thing is. And just remember, most of the time, it doesn't actually result in leaving. A lot of times it results in a mature conversation with business leaders going, what can we change? How can we tweak stuff? That should be a normal part of a healthy, growing organization, is that the job descriptions and the way that we work is shifting all the time to continue to keep people in their sweet spot.
Yeah. I mean, I've had 5 roles in my 8 years here, and all of them, some of them, like you said, Dan Ram, weren't done as well on my end. But as I've shifted, we have an incredible leadership team, and that's part of it, is just trusting leadership to do their job well, to go, they're going to figure this out. And what you're saying over here with a safe environment, there's a lot of people, we say we hire thoroughbreds and not donkeys. And when you're a thoroughbred, you don't want to drop the ball. You don't want people to think that you can't handle your responsibility in your KRA. So what you do is you just white knuckle it like you're talking about, and that can lead to burnout. It can lead to resentment. And so being honest and upfront with your leader, trusting that they've got your back and that they want what's best for you is so, so key. So that's huge, guys. Thank you for kind of sharing a lot about transitioning well. And part of that is I was in an advisory group call the other day, and there was some issue with a business owner saying, hey, I'm trying to raise up a new leader. I want to incept everything in my brain into their brain. That seems to be such a struggle for the business owners out there. You guys have led a lot of people in your time here. What tips could you give to that business owner who's going, hey, I'm on the treadmill, but I don't want to be. I need to rise up. I need to bring in some new leadership. How do I make sure that they're doing the things that I want them to do and do it the way I want it done?
Yeah, I mean, I think as a leader, one of the top things you can do is be very highly aware of what's going on with the team. And so there's a couple ways you can do that. Well, first of all, the reason why it's important to be highly aware is so you can sift out things. You can see things before they happen. You can get ahead of things. When you see a team member who might be a little bit frustrated, you can curb that frustration before it becomes toxic. Or if you see a team member who might be being underutilized, you could get with them, talk to them, figure out how could their role maybe change, or what are things you could plug them into to really make them satisfied, and also give them an opportunity to step up. So one of the things that I actually learned from you, Tardy, was several years ago, you actually moved out of your office and set up a desk on the floor with the rest of your team. And that's one thing that I've done in the Entre area is they gave me your fancy office, and and I still have that. I still use it for meetings, and I use it when I need to be heads down. But for the most part, I try to sit on the floor with the rest of the team. And what that does for me is 2 things. It allows me to be very aware of what's going on. I get to overhear things. I get to see things that I wouldn't see if I was behind a closed door. Secondly, it makes the team realize that I'm available. I'm more approachable because I'm out there with them. And so I tell them, like, hey, if you don't see me with headphones on, you're welcome to come ask me a question. It saves me from having way more emails than I should. It also helps people come to me when they have an issue. So it makes them more comfortable coming to me. It also gives me more opportunities to come to them, or to seek them out, or to see them and notice them in ways that I wouldn't otherwise.
Yeah, you're really good at that. The biggest mistakes I've made in leadership are when I have made assumptions. I've made assumptions that people know that I'm proud of them without actually saying it. I made assumptions that people could read my mind and know what our vision is without slowing down and communicating it. I've made assumptions that everybody was bought in when I gave a talk and said, this is what we're doing, this is where we're going, and I didn't slow down and ask questions and get feedback. And so Daniel models this really well, but when he sat down in the cafe and had, the speed dating 45 minutes, everybody comes in.
That's exactly what it was.
He was making himself available to listen and really getting that feedback from your team. And so I know the question is, how do I download everything in my mind into their mind? That kind of comes as a natural byproduct when you've spent enough time hearing what is and isn't in their mind. And through making yourself available and creating the space for that communication, which you really prioritize. Because I know you weren't bored in that season. There's a lot going on. I mean, you're a board member, you're on committees, there's all kinds of stuff you had to fight to create that time in your calendar to be available to listen. And it's only in those, kneecap to kneecap discussions that you can really infuse what's in your head into their mind. And it happens over time. You can't do it in one meeting. So it's a constant thing that we have to fight for as leaders.